Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, integrative physician, pediatrician, and cranial osteopath, also known as the multidimensional MD. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I always love to hear from you. My mission is to help bring the intuitive spirit back to medicine in practical and tangible ways. So, today I want to talk about understanding your constitution and why that's important for your health, because it's not a one size fits all approach. You are a unique being, you're a unique person. Yet we're all connected and we're all part of this oneness of the universe. And so, that's an interesting thing to understand. It's like, how do you understand your own uniqueness, what that means for your health? And it's like it's wanting to understand like that mystery. It seems like an opposite that we're connected, yet we're all unique, but we are all expressions of this divine oneness. So it's one of those mysteries of the universe, and being comfortable with that and working with that for your own health, because really all healing is love, but then it's in the details of how that unfolds, how that might be different. So for example, some people can eat meat and others would be better not to. Some people can have dairy and others can't. Some people are very sensitive to medications and supplements, and others aren't. So that's going to matter in terms of dosing and how you approach things for yourself. It affects like what the recommendations that I give to people, because I don't tell everyone with something that might look like the same diagnosis, the exact same thing. There might be similarities, but then what I say to someone will be tailored individually for them. So, if you are one of those people that is more sensitive or empathic, then you may want to pay attention to dosing supplements or when someone gives you a medication, because in general I find that people that have more sensitive constitutions, they react more to them. So you're going to get all kinds of reactions. It just feels more potent, like a bigger punch. So it's better to start low and slow with things, and remember that more is not better. So yeah, that was about why is all of this important for your health. Number two, I want to talk about is how intuition might show up for you. And this is like that balance of like being more analytical, logical versus a feeling empath kind of person. And the thing is, it's not separate: analytical, logical, intuitive, empathic. You can be both. And you could have more of that intuition in certain parts of your life that might come to you more naturally, and you might be more logical in other parts of your life, and the two might conflict with each other, or when we feel more whole, the two actually are aligned. So this is why it's important to understand your constitution, why it will help you feel more whole, and how you can tend to your own needs. So first of all, feel like, in terms of logical, analytical, people tend to understand what that means. It's like you like to make lists, pros and cons, weigh out the pros and cons, the differences, to make decisions in your life. You like to understand those details in terms of engineering or math or science, and that understanding of that detail can help you feel like you have an understanding of yourself too. So when people are more analytical, logical, then I will tend to talk more about anatomy and physiology, electricity, energy. So we can talk about diet and nutrition, but we'll talk about like how that affects the physiology. And so for people that are more intuitive or feeler types, then I'll talk more about the energetic and the emotion and mental emotional patterns and things like that. And it's not like I only do one for one person and one for the other kind of person. Again, we can integrate this and have a more whole understanding. And that can really feel good for both sides of your brain. So I want to talk a little bit more about how you could be intuitive, because really I feel that most people have access to their intuition, and I feel that everybody has the potential to access their intuition. So I'm going to go through each of the senses and how that might show up for you. So it could show up with talking and speaking. So in your thoughts, it might sound like words that come through, those whispers of thoughts that are behind your regular loud thoughts. So sometimes it can help to quiet your regular thoughts so you can hear the whispers that come through. This is that intuitive guidance from the universe, that is always supportive and loving for you. So you never have to be afraid of it. If it's something that is not supportive and not loving, then you know that is not your intuition and not your guidance. It's not, when I mean not supportive, loving, it doesn't mean that it can still come as a warning of something of danger, like if you needed to go around one street or another street. But see, that's also taking care of you and being very supportive and loving. It's not meant to frighten you. It can also show up in your vision. So, in terms of like what you notice, there's a reason why certain things catch your eye as you go about your day. So, just pay attention. Maybe it's you see some squirrels playing, and it means that you need to balance work and family for you. It's about more balance in your life. You need to be more playful. It could be that you see butterflies or cardinals, and that could remind you of a loved one that has crossed over and is thinking about you. It could be like when I moved once, I noticed the trees at each house. And at each, we're deciding between two houses. And at one house, the conversation about a big tree that was there was, my dad told me, he's like, oh, that tree is actually dying. If you look down here, you can see that there's some rot. And so actually that tree needs to be taken down so it doesn't fall in the house. And then at the other house, there was a conversation of like, oh, that's unusual. There's a cucumber magnolia growing there. And that doesn't usually grow in this area because it should be growing closer to the river. That's what it likes. But they had these gigantic leaves and huge, enormous magnolia flowers. And so it was just really interesting for me because just that conversation about a tree at each house helped lead us to decide like which house that we ended up buying. Your intuition can show up through your hearing too. So you could hear a song on the radio, or you could hear a phrase, or you could hear like certain music that reminds you of something. You could hear some birds singing and brings up a memory. So your intuition could come up like that as well. It can also come up with feeling. So it could be that when you walk in a room, that you just get this like tingling sensation, or maybe somebody says something and you feel like you get goosebumps because for it's like your intuition coming through that this rings true for you somehow. It could be going back to hearing again, that your ear is ringing. So this happens to me sometimes, and it's just like a little heads up. It's like the antenna is like saying like, hey, tune in, listen, be quiet so you can hear. There's a message coming through. There's some guidance coming through. It can also come in through your sense of smell. And this is, I hear this from other people. So they might smell something that other people don't pick up on. And I have a friend, and she's a massage therapist and energy healer. And she says that often when she's working on the liver points, that she'll have certain scents that come up. And then she'll know that that's what something the person has been taking too much of, and the liver's having trouble processing. So she might smell coffee, and it means like, don't overdo it on the coffee. And she'll let the person know that. So there's so many ways that your intuition can show up. And this is just like a brief podcast, just giving you ideas of how it might come in for you. And it may not be necessarily all those senses. It may come in more as a knowing, which you feel in your body, your heart opening, or your mind, or your whole energy field just kind of beams that, this rings true for me. This I understand. And so it gives you an idea of like what is your truth and how to take steps forward towards that, because it's always in that understanding of yourself and that listening to your intuition and guidance that can help you. Now, what I said before is that that kind of intuition can come up in different areas of your life. So everyone, I feel, has potential to be intuitive. Some people are just more naturally intuitive than others, and it's not a good or bad thing. It's just different kinds of people, and it's understanding. We need all kinds of people. And even if someone is very analytical and scientific and like an engineer type, many engineers that are innovative and coming up with new inventions are also very intuitive. And we hear that from Einstein to Da Vinci, how they listened to their dreams, how they listened to the quiet, and how they needed to be alone a lot of the time so that they could understand their intuition coming through and be able to do these amazing things. So I'm going to pull up this circle of life, or it's a compass. Let me get that for you. So this is from a compass tool from the Samaritan Family Wellness.org website, and you can download these for free. These are kind of neat. Now, this is somewhat of an oversimplification, but that's okay. I still find it really useful. And there's a lot of these different compass tools that you can find on the internet. But the point is just to start somewhere and be able to look at it. So you can see that there are different sections on this compass. And from the center going on out, this will be easier if you're looking on a computer screen, but if you could zoom in there, from the center is a 0 point, and moving on out, they have those lines all the way out to 100. So you can kind of go through each area and look where you feel like you could use more balance in your life. So say if everything's really balanced, then you could put a dot right at that 100 point all the way out. And so it's like your energy field. It's like nice and open. This circle of your life is nice and open. And if you feel like maybe you need some help, it's sort of like in between 50-50, then you would put your point right in the middle from the spoke, the center, to the spoke outwards. And then what you can do is sort of like draw this, you can connect all the dots and create this wheel of life, or the circle of your life. And it will give you an idea of like which parts of your life could be expanded. So here it's divided into relationships, emotions, spirituality, rest and play, resilience, care for the body, organization, and school and work. And the reason why I say this is an oversimplification is because you could take any of those parts and blend it in to the other parts of your life. And so this is another way you can consider looking at the compass if you're understanding your constitution, that analytical side of you versus that intuitive side of you. So if I were to kind of change the grading, the system, like first you have your compass of like the balance in your life. Now take a fresh sheet. You can also, again, you can download these on the Good Samaritan Wellness site, Samaritan Family Wellness site. then take a fresh sheet, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So, which parts of the, and it may match up with how you feel your balance. So, which areas of life do you feel that you are more intuitive? And it's like that things come more easily to you. So, this is why it might overlap with the other compass that you filled out, where it's the balance in your life. But it's a different way of looking at it. So I see this, for example, if we look at schoolwork in entrepreneurs, I often find that yes, they may seem like really intuitive people. I mean, really analytical people, but those people that are really financially successful, they tend to be very intuitive in business, whether or not they're aware of it. However, maybe they don't have that same intuition in terms of their health, their care of their body. So the care of the body gets ignored. So they're actually have a lot of symptoms and physical symptoms that might be hidden, might be obvious to other people, but chances are they're not because they're very good at covering it. Or maybe they could use some help in relationships. So they're very intuitive in their finances and their business. So again, see it how it's not a good or bad thing, because probably a lot of people would like to be intuitive in terms of finances, but also a lot of people would like to have some ease in their relationships and be able to connect with others in a deeper way, which is a whole other topic. And I would love to talk about that too, because that's been coming up for people as well. And and then in rest and play, and I see this too because some people prioritize that more than others. I have family members that are very good at prioritizing rest and play, and I also have to think about that for myself too. So I have to consciously like use my logical analytical side to also balance the rest and play, because I love to have projects and I love to have work, but I can also overwork myself, and when that happens my body will tell me. So I'll get some symptoms somehow. Might be my eyes, it might be a cold sore, it might be like I start to get a cold or something like that. So, listen to both sides. So, because I'm very intuitive too, when my body flares up these symptoms, then it reminds me, hey, don't forget to rest and play and set aside time to do other things that don't have to do with my projects, that just are connecting with other people and hanging out with friends and going out with in nature, and things like that. And my analytical side will help me schedule that in so that I have that balance. So what other areas could we look at here? Yeah, so you're looking at your emotions, and people that are more sensitive, they tend to be more feeler types, these empaths. And so when you walk in a room, you might feel things more intensely than others. Um, you can feel other people's feelings. And you might not be able to separate them from your own feelings. And this is where it's nice to have the understanding, the cognitive understanding of your intuitive feelings. Because if you understand that when you walk into a room of people and you start having these intense feelings, that some of what you're picking up on is not you, then you will start to be able to process it and approach it from a more neutral perspective. So then you can look at that as information that's coming into you. So your intuition, but you can balance it with the understanding that, and logical and understanding that, oh, okay, I see, maybe yeah, that I can understand that that person is feeling this way, whether or not it's obvious on their faces or the way they're talking. And that's amazing too, because it will help you with being able to pick up subtle details no matter what you do. But you see how it's that balance of understanding your intuition and understanding your analytical logical side, and it doesn't have to be separate. It to me, it doesn't mean just because you're more intuitive, you're less analytical and vice versa. That's not true. They're sort of like separate scales. And yes, they sometimes battle each other, and your logic might be in a tug of war with your intuition. It's like my heart says this and my intuition says this, but my logic says, you know, I should take that job. And my logic, my heart and intuition say it's not the right one for you. But so you see, it is that balance of these different aspects of ourselves and understanding how it might pop up in different areas of your life. So that's a lot. I could talk about this for so long, but I hope that gives you some understanding of yourself, of how you can apply that to your life, of at least getting curious about it. And maybe the understanding will come unfold over time. That's okay. We are all on this journey. It's not about having like instant understanding, but if we never bring it up, then it might not occur to you. And so I'd like to normalize that conversation of what being intuitive and combining that with your logic and the analytical side, and how that can affect your health, and how can we bring that more into our conversations in healthcare and medicine. Because how often does your physician or healthcare practitioner talk about this, and how much of an impact does it have on our health? It's huge. So thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to share this video. And I will see you next time, 11 a.m. EST. So thanks for joining me, Dr. Arlene Diamco, the Multidimensional MD. Have a great week and lots of love to all of you.